Okay, screw him.
I don't know. I'm sorry, Gary. 2 minutes, man. 2 minutes. By the way, folks, welcome to Talking Crit, your weekly live stream. I am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. Jason to me, stage right, left. I have no idea how this works. Is none other than Bad Mike, my once a week work spouse. Uh, Directly below Mike is the one and only Jim Kitchen,
Mm.
Oh boy.
and adjacent to Jim is none other than Rachel Marsh of of the Marshes. Should I say that?
Woo. At least I'd hope so, given my
Well,
name. Otherwise, I have many
It's like
questions.
it's RPG royalty. The Marsh, the line of marshes.
And this begins what we have now got, the Talking Crit drinking game. We're going to set a new set of rules for tonight's Talking Crit drinking game. Every single time that Mike's screen freezes and he has distortion from the internet, you take a drink. So join us on this voyage of intoxication and liver failure with Bad Mike drinking game on Talking Crit.
Oh boy.
Yeah, when
I
Mike
don't think
turns
I'm
like
ready
a
for this,
Cylon,
guys.
then silenced, you know it's time to take a swig. Now, I wasn't
That's right.
prepared, so
Here we go.
all I have is lemonade, lemonada.
Oh,
But I'll be ready for next one, and then you can see me slowly sink under my desk.
oh.
'Cause
I've
look-
got water
look at
and
that
ginger ale, but I'm living with 2 sophomores, so no alcohol allowed in the apartment.
Excellent.
Mm.
Excellent.
Honestly, I don't really have the time to go drinking anyways.
Shenanigans. So
you
many
can say
shenanigans.
whatever you want. We don't have to believe you, but you can certainly say it. We were all that age once. I will say that. We were all
My
that
idea of a
age.
party is a TPK and then a trip to hell.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, those are tough standards for a first date, Rachel. Don't you think you might,
Yep.
like you don't
I
have to
said
do all
for a
7 layers of the
party.
abyss. I'm just,
Yes. Lead with that. Lead with that, definitely.
wow. So anyway, let's talk about the family adventure published by Frog God that's about 180 degrees from that. Wow. Okay, picking up the pieces of the train wreck, let's talk about Forest of the Spores, an adventure for 5e, OSR, and CNC. Yeah. Come on, everybody take a breath. We can power through this. That's a hell of a start, Rachel. That's just excellent. So,
Thanks.
Forest of Spores. So how did you get the idea for the adventure, Rachel?
Okay, so I was trying to figure out one-shots because I was kind of behind on campaign prep. I was trying to figure out something to kind of tide over. And so I went to basically a random word generator and just had like a 2-word prompts. I got like 6 of them in the end. I think 4, anything like something like that. And one of them was chartreuse mahogany, which I looked at that and I went, green wood? And somehow that led me to mushrooms. I don't know how, but led me to mushrooms. And I kind of went, all right, you got mushrooms, we got a forest, mushroom forest. That's kind of cool. But like mushrooms, decay, just kind of started freewheeling, going, all right, mushroom forest, rapid expansion. So that can kind of pop up out of nowhere, easy to just kind of pop in anywhere you feel like it. Because very much like it's a plug and play approach where it makes it really easy for a 1-shot or a 2-shot. And it just kind of expanded into a module. But the how it started is honestly really anticlimactic. It's random word generator and freewheeling at 11 p.m.
And no mushrooms were involved, correct?
I think I might have had a quesadilla, which maybe had some portobellos in it.
Not the kind of, not the kind of mushrooms he was referring to.
Yeah, not the type we're talking about.
Yeah.
I look forward to your next peyote field adventure in the Southwest. This will be great. Mike!
I
Mike.
assure you, I could be wild enough sober.
Oh, my Lord. So Rachel, how did you get your start with Frog God?
All right. So Bill Webb had kind of been like nagging at me for a couple of years and make a module, write me something. And whenever I'm at the con, he always just kind of gives me free books because when your kid shows up, we want free books. And he gave him a couple, and just kind of became a thing over the years. And I think it was 2020. I don't remember the exact year, but eventually he was like, you know what? Sure, I'm going to give you a book, but in exchange, I want a module. And he took it. It was like a Tomb of Beast 2, I think. Wrote on the side, you owe me one module. And I went, all right, I owe you a module. And I started just kind of took one of the one-shot ideas, kind of expanded on it, because I had the old notes. Started fleshing out a bit more, because I kind of go more improv style. And if you're actually writing something for other people to play, it needs a lot less improv. Started writing things out, and then it just kind of kept going. And there are a lot of very like businessy, like professional-esque emails where I was kind of like, that's kind of cool. And then module. I guess before that, though, I guess for a start, there'd been a thing my sophomore year, 2019. They're at some kind of convention, and they had me sort of write up. In high school, I ran a game, like I think anywhere from 9 to 14, 15 teenagers. Generally, hard pros around 11. Bad Mike would have seen this, and he's gone, actually. Take a shot, folks.
Yeah,
No. That's not a failure. That might be just, it's only when he freezes that we take a drink. Otherwise, we'd all be polluted. So no, just slow your roll, Rachel. Slow your roll. We'll be there soon enough.
That's fair. Livers can only take so much. But I guess back then, he basically asked me to write up a thing about that because there was a convention they're going to. Essentially, it was a short, like 2-page thing about essentially. I got autism. The teenager I was playing with really had autism. Bad Mike, we're actually just talking about the high school group I was with. Mm-hmm. And just sort of what I saw helped. So I guess that was technically my start with Frog God Games, not in a sort of a publishing module sense, but back then.
Yep. And so what's your elevator pitch for Forest of Spores? What's your 30-second pitch to get somebody interested and want to run this for their group?
What if invasive species were people? Like, you get a group of people, stuff's going on, living their best life, and you get another group of people doing the same thing. Both groups of people are trying to kind of make things work out with ultimately incompatible goals and aspirations. How do you figure out how to make that work? And how do you survive long enough to figure out how to actually make the conversation happen?
Okay. So tell us about the module.
All right.
Eric, do you want to bring that up? Do you want to bring up the...
By the way, already funded.
Yes.
Yay.
Nice.
Yes.
Dad made sure to tell me that he was the very first backer.
Nice.
So do I get to start telling? When do I start telling my Rachel Marsh stories? I have so many.
Tell your Rachel Marsh stories, please.
So many. I'm just afraid I'm going to fade out in the middle of the story though, because they're all so good. They're so good. So the first time I saw Rachel was when she came with her father, who invited to North Texas. I think year 3, 2 or 3.
It was second year.
Yeah, she was with her older sister Heather. And they both came, and you were 9, I think, Rachel?
I was 9 because second year, 2009, I was 9 years old. I'm generally as old as the year.
You were 9, and your dad. I told you that since your dad was Steve Marsh, you could have whatever candy or anything you wanted. We were selling at the front because back then we were so low budget. We sold our own drinks and candy. How many candy bars do you think I gave you that day, Rachel?
4 or 5 before Dad found out and stopped me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. it was epic. She was bouncing off the walls and ceiling because I believe in letting kids and grandkids have a good time. Come on, man. I didn't know
it was a great time.
She wasn't supposed to be eating that much candy. I mean, I kind of lost track about candy bar number 2 or 3. And so yes, that was fun. So that was my introduction to Rachel, and she's just very sweet. And I've known her. I've grown up with her around. She's kind of like the kid sister of everybody at the con, and she would just come every year. And then she started running games. When did you run your first game? Do you remember how old you were when you ran your first game?
First pickup game or first game?
First game, like you were scheduled, because you were running pickup games at the very beginning.
Scheduled game, that would have been late high school. I think probably 2017 or 2018, I think.
Yeah, probably. And yeah, she would run. She ran games, and look, her dad is Steve Marsh, who was one of the seminal names of Dungeons and Dragons. You know, co-writer of Blackmore and other, and also for those of you who don't know, he and Gary were incredible friends. They were some of the correspondence I've been privy to read. Correspondence between Gary and Steve, and it is not too light to say that Gary adored Steve. He absolutely adored your father. And he kept trying to hire your father, and your father kept saying, "No, I'm going to law school. I can't work in a game company," because Gary wanted to hire him so bad, and he kept enticing him, saying, "No, you need to come here to Lake Geneva and work. I've got all kinds of projects for you, this and that." But you know, he's best known for probably the Mulvey Cook basic, which he worked on. But he did tons of things over the years, and it was great to see Rachel and her sister Heather there, and they're gamers. I remember your sister was one of the first people to win the chariot race.
She still has the trophy.
Year we had it. Yeah, she won it. That's back when we had a crappy trophy. We need to send Heather a nice trophy, not the yucko stuff we had at the beginning of the time. But so no, yeah, we've known her a long time, and we've grown up together, and she's absolutely okay. Enough, Jim. Enough. You won third place. Yay. Yahoo. So I have never won anything. No, so we grew up with Rachel, and she's a friend. And another story I had, I got to go out and drop a whole bunch of Frog God stuff because she was running a group, an after school group. And Bill said, "Why don't you just give them a whole bunch of stuff she'd give to all her players?" And so I came out with a big giant stack of stuff, and I sat in her game. And I want to say I have almost never been more impressed with a DM than I was with Rachel that day. It was amazing because she was running a group it was mostly autistic. Would you say?
I think pretty much everyone in there was autistic, I think.
Yes.
Because they essentially all found each other through a mom's group locally for parents of autistic children.
And it was not one or two people, guys. We're talking a full table of like 10 people, all kids, all autistic in their own way. One kid brought a snake, an actual live giant snake.
Yeah, I remember her. She was cool.
And yeah, that was actually pretty cool. Some of the kids could not stop talking. Some of them never talked. I mean, it was just, and she was running it like a champ. I was absolutely in awe. I was just like, oh my gosh, she's keeping all these kids, you know, okay, she's like, okay, come on, we got to concentrate. You got to do this. I mean, she was getting them all in there, and it was absolutely amazing. She did such a great job. And I was just so impressed with you, Rachel, that day. I told your dad and your mom, because your dad and mom were there too. I was like, I'm watching this and I'm just amazed. I would have walked out 30 minutes into it and said, I can't do it. It's just too much. It's too much. But
I had a spray bottle in my duffel bag that I used to spritz them if they got too rowdy.
Yep. And you did such a great job. And I was just so impressed.
Rachel, they're players. They're not cats.
I mean, if it works, it works.
Jesus.
Well, I don't. Jim,
we're going to hell, and I'm spraying it the whole way.
You weren't at the table that day, Jim. You were not at the table that day. So bear spray.
Oh my God, we killed her.
Still got the bottle.
Bear spray would not have been out of place that day. It was crazy, but no, she kept the game going. She did a great job, and so I've always been really impressed with Rachel. And I'm not surprised she's publishing her first work here, and it's really good. I've read it. I love it. Yeah. So that's my personal Rachel story. Some of my personal Rachel stories there.
So this adventure really sets up this is what I love in a one-shot adventure. The party's encountering a situation that they don't understand, and it's really up to the players to deduce the original root of the problem. They can wade in, sword swinging, spell blasting, fireball them all out, but better players are going to try to figure out what's going on because there's a communication barrier, there's the root cause, and we're sort of blowing it by essentially, spoiler alert, yes, the picture shows the gigantic albino boule at the center of the whole mess. But it does actually challenge the players to not just swing first, but to ask some questions first and try to figure out things. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to this. I mean, you're halfway through you've got 17 days to go, I think. Is that right? 17? And so it's already going well. You're already funded 5 times your goal, almost 6 times your goal. I think that this is the key to things going forward, right? Is these are little things that you can pick up and run without too much deep prep. Now, that said, I'm a big believer 2 hours of prep time for every hour of game time. And I think this is an adventure that could fill an entire evening and do it well, and it would be great fun and everybody would enjoy that. But if you look at the cover, you're like, I get to fight mushrooms. I hate the myconids. I'm going to kill them all and put them on pizza. But that's not the case here. And instead, we've got something that's a little more interesting than just the road trip to hell with Rachel Marsh. So
Plus,
who
you
did
get
the
to do
art?
funny mushroom voices. Nothing's
Yeah,
better than funny
I can
mushroom
do
voices.
funny mushroom voices. I can do them all day long.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Sorry.
One. That's impressive.
Who did the cover art? I wanted to ask that because this looks very much like Ken Stacy. That was my first reflex when I saw this, was that it's very much like Ken Stacy. Do we know? Wait, I can't tell you. Sorry.
Artem did the cover art. Yeah, Artem did the cover art. He's one of Casey's discoveries. Amazing. He discovered him in high school. Absolutely incredible. Of course, he's not a kid anymore. He's a professional artist now. But yeah, we're really happy whenever we can get Artem to do a cover for us. Still, he's moved on to bigger and better things, but we can still get him in every once in a while.
No, that's just phenomenal.
Cover. Yeah.
But it really is. It's got a lot of the Ken Stacy kind of highlights. That's the first moment I looked at it, I was like, holy smokes. So very cool.
And spoiler alert, the ants do show up sometimes, depending on what you do.
Do you want ants? That's how you get ants.
All right, so Brian LeBlanc.
Meanwhile, Michael's throwing us notes. Yeah, I've got it open here in front of me. I just had to alt tab over to something else.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean,
so now,
this is the one. This is kind of a one shot, right? It's this. Now, what I liked about this reading it is it's really for almost any level, because depending on how much or how little combat you want, you can avoid pretty much almost all the combat except for the boule, which is. But there's ways you can get around the boule too if you're smart. So I liked it because it really, you can plug it in first through third level, fourth through sixth, or whatever. Even high, if you want to be high level, there's a really cool chart at the end where you can, hey, you want the boule to be even nastier? Here's how you can make him really nasty. Here's the boule at 9 hit dice, 10 hit dice, 11 hit dice. And so I like that a lot. I like scalable adventures like that quite a bit.
I think in this case, because it's already kind of albino mutant weird, you get a lot more flexibility with how tough you want to make it. You could just kind of dying too fast, throw some more hit dice at it. Do what you like.
Well, and I think what you want to do is you want to really, this gives you a chance to weed out the players that need some coaching and who just want to fireball everything, and the people who actually want to sort of poke around and look under the hood and see what else is going on. And I think it also puts a big burden on the GM. You really have to have somebody who's not going to just lean into letting the party sort of steamroll the myconids. You've really got to have somebody who can use the chops, because they don't have mouths. The communication barrier is going to be very, very challenging. And so I think it's also very interesting what we were talking about earlier, and having a table of people who are somewhere on the spectrum. I think, again, there can be communication challenges sometimes.
I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. There's definitely a thematic component on that.
Yes.
Because I guess they can write, but in terms of verbal communication and body language is very alien to what we would think.
Yes. And so you've got to also think outside the box of presenting the other side of the equation, which is the people who don't have mouths and got kicked out of their home by an angry boule.
Mm-hmm. And especially one thing about there is that the boule went through their nursery, also their food storage, because they combined the two, because mushroom people, why not? But it went through the nursery, and the first myconids you may or may not encounter are the children. And so how you react to that will very much, I think, prep out how the other things pan out.
Yep.
you're dealing with a very vulnerable group who's very protective because the first people you evacuate are the most vulnerable. And so there's just a dynamic in there of, yeah, these are the Myconids they've got left, decimated population. You've got some issues going on.
Yep. No, I understand.
I also enjoy, Michael touched on this. Adventures get the opportunity to solve the problem. I like adventures that are not choo choo, and this one is very much. Hey, you could do 5 different things. I mean, there's all kinds of ways this could come out. You could play this with 3 different groups, and they have 3 totally different solutions here. Or you know, I mean, one group could wipe out everybody and say, "Okay, we solved the problem. Everybody's dead. This worked out perfectly." You know, one group could say, whoa, there's something going on here. Let's talk to the mushroom people. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's work. I mean, that's what I like about this. There's not one right or wrong answer, and you don't get punished necessarily for doing one thing one way or one way or the other. And I love that type of stuff because I'm a very sandboxy guy and open adventure type of guy. So kudos for that. I really enjoy that.
Thanks. I'm glad. Because if you want to go in guns blazing, you can. The eponymous Spores, the rim will cause you some issues, but you can manage to get through it. You take a bit of time, go things out. It's a bit easier, but you're also losing time. But I think I wanted to kind of put a thing in there where no matter what role you play in a party, you can have something to do. And if you want to poke around, there's stuff to uncover. There's a limit. You're not going to find detailed instructions for every single brick in a building. That'd be kind of excessive. Mm. But generally speaking, there's something for everybody, no matter what role you have. And if you want to dig deep, you can. And if you don't want to, you can make it work.
And by the way, you could really screw this up too. I mean, what's going on on the surface, you may not run into the solution if you just go in, like you said, gun blazing, and you're just going to hack everything. Okay, we put all the mic and it's great now. And you go back up to the surface like, oh, wait, it's not great anymore. There's these giant mushroom fields taking over the city still. See you later, guys.
Absolutely.
Bye. We're going to the village next door and have a beer. And you guys, sorry about all that, but
yeah, absolutely. Things can go very wrong. Is it easy to get things wrong? Depends on your group. But there's no right answer. There are a few wrong answers, but there's no right perfect answer. You figure it out. You do the best you can. And some people might try to go, hey, if we cut down all the mushrooms, except this is multiple miles in diameter, the scale itself poses an issue to potentially slash and burning. You can certainly try, though. Honestly, I should have put in more consequences.
No, when we talked about this, I was telling you that there should have been an option that you could have got industrial strength DDT or whatever they have in the fantasy world and just wiped everything out. Of course, that would have a horrible effect too. Is that hey, we killed all the mushrooms, we also killed all the crops. See you guys
First,
later.
Your kids die under the boulet, and now you're wiping them out with medieval DDT. What is wrong with you people?
No, I mean, I heard fire, and I thought it was my gaming group. But when they hear fire, it's like,
oh no,
yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
They don't have mouths, so we won't hear them screaming. Burn them some more.
They
Burn
can't
them some more.
scream. They can't squeak scream. Very rubbery sounding.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my Lord.
I just put some cotton and wax in your ears. Pull an Odysseus.
Okay, so how did you come up with the people of the camp's names? That's the question I was going to ask you next.
The people of the camp's names.
Because these are torturous, right?
Giggler,
and there's Cyphrip, Sigid, and then it gets into a combination of consonants with an occasional vowel that just hurts. So how did you come up with mushroom people names?
Well, so at first I was kind of trying to figure, I guess, existing examples because I didn't want to just pop something in there that didn't fit anything else thematically. And I went, all right, saw a couple things on there, sort of a lot of PS combinations, a lot of G's, a lot of Y's, and I kind of went, all right, get a general vibe, and I just kind of went for it. I tried to make things that were at least technically pronounceable, not necessarily easy or initial, but things that, if you just kind of squeak and guess, it's close enough. Yeah, I got Cypher, Sigurd, Giggler, Bigodlal. And it's the kind of things on there where no matter how you try try to pronounce it, you're at least close enough to being right.
I said this before the stream started. This is really reminding me a lot of the breakfast cereal when I was a kid called Freakies, right? And the only thing you're missing is one named Boss Moss and Snorfeldork or whatever they were. I'm gonna have to look up the names, but like I just enjoyed I was like having flashbacks to first grade, and I'm like, where's my Freakies, man? Where are my Freakies? So
yeah. I think the big thing is I wanted to have names that were distinct enough from each other while also having a very limited number of consonants, like very limited set of consonants and sounds. Because these people don't really have mouths, you're just kind of doing a best guess approximation of whatever they feel like doing. So it's all kind of arbitrary. But at least they're distinct.
they are distinct. They're absolutely distinct.
Distinct by itself and distinct from each other. I wanted to know what this having cohesive.
Yeah, there we go. And here are the names, right? So it's Boss Moss, Snorkeldorf, Hamhose, Grumble, Cow Mumble, Gargle, and Goody Goody. Those are the Freakies.
Why on earth would you know all that? Why on
I
earth
just
would you know that?
I can't. I actually the purple one who is that's I think that's Grumble. I had him, and I used to put him on the table when we played D&D, just because he was sort of universal. Snorkeldorf is the blue one. Boss Moth is the green one, but and then Goody Goody's the pink one. And then I got to remember who the other. I can't remember. Anyway.
Well, Michael Gross just throw the names up there too, because he's a weirdo just like you. He knows all these.
That's right.
Names, you know.
Yes. You actually got those with your cereal. And I, of course, was not able to, but Gargle. No, I'm sorry. The purple one was Gargle. That's right. That's Gargle.
Okay.
Anyway.
3 of them start with G's. Neat.
So
see, if it's my group, my group's just gonna make up nicknames for everybody. They're gonna say you're shorty, you're chubby, you're. I mean, that's what they do to all the NPCs they run into. They're like, my name is Count Julian. No. We're gonna call you Mustache because you got a mustache. No,
and
it's not like your mustache. That's all you are, mustache. So that's what my group likes to do. They don't. Yeah, we're not gonna. We don't care what your name is. We don't give a shit.
That's totally fair. And they're physically distinct enough you can do that. You've got like 2 that are super tall. One's kind of weird and lanky. One's short, like with weird proportions. One's just wide.
You just described me, Eric, and Jim right there.
Hey, I'm taller than that.
I won't say who's who, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel attacked.
Thanks for putting us in your module. That's awesome.
That's great. That's great.
If Jim wants, he can get the whole set for $7.
I'm good. Hard pass. I got enough useless plastic objects at this point. I don't need more. Thank you very much.
Oh, I wish it was cheaper because I was going to buy it for Jim and just have it sent to his house so it'd show up one day.
You're the best.
But I don't know if he's worth. I don't know if Jim's worth $65 or not.
I'm not worth that much money.
No, that's pushing it. That's definitely pushing it. So you grew up with your. So at what point of your life did you realize? Well, first of all, when did you realize what Dungeons and Dragons was, and then when did you realize my dad did some really cool stuff back in the day with the guy that actually created Dungeons and Dragons, and he published some stuff too. Did this just hit you one day, or did you just kind of gradually grow into it, or what?
So as a kid, Dad had some very, very nice, I think, pewter painted miniatures that were kept in a specially padded box in his office. And sometimes I'd take them out and just look and just like rotate them in my hands because they looked really cool. I think it was like a Yakshagoth. Then one was like some kind of like black tentacle guy. They were cool looking. I always look at them and go, man, these are neat. I'm like, what game are these from? He's like, you give me a different answers each time because, like, how do you explain that to a 6-year-old? Apparently, I think also because
mostly at that point we're trying to make sure you don't eat the lead. I mean, really and truly, at that point we're just trying to keep things out of your mouth because we're just out of the fluid stage where there's a lot of fluid management, and we're just trying to get you to not eat things that might poison you.
Yeah, I had a fair number of trips to the ER as a child. Not for anything serious. I just got a lot of bumps and bruises. I bounced off the walls even without candy. I had a favorite type of MRI machine by the time I was like 8.
So anyway, here, let's close that sharing window and put the shutters. Let's move past having your own favorite MRI machine. Nobody should have something they visit enough to call Old Sparky. That's troubling, Rachel. That's just troubling.
I mean, it only takes like 3 or 4 visits to have
Hey, wait, Mike froze. Everybody take a drink. Whee!
I will say, well, I worked in the hospital, so I did see them just here and there.
Oh my God. So do you have plans? So let's talk about a couple of other things. So this is done very well. You're 5 times over goal. You've got 17 days left to go. You're almost at 600%. So what are your thoughts about either doing a sequel or something set close to the surroundings of this module? Do you have anything in mind?
I do now. That's a really I hadn't thought about that, but that's a really fun idea. Because there are a number of ways you could split off. Because the Myconid group split off from a larger colony, so it could explore back into that.
A Myconid civil war. This sounds intriguing.
Yeah, I figure it could be conflict of some sort. It could be kind of budding off of a kind of their own little spreading out thing. It could be exploration group. It could be a variety of forms and methods. There are also some tunnels down there, like other parts of just the underground expanses. It could also be going off of that, depending on how you handle the surface and all that. Could get postal trade deals. What kind of groups of people are interested in having a very easy access point to underground locations, which may or may not have lots of profit?
I just want to throw this out here. I mean, we're talking about potential crowdfunding. Have you thought about slapping some drow in it? Because everybody likes to slap some drow in their crowdfunding efforts because they're cool. They're really cool if you didn't know that. You could just slap some drow in it and you're just going to make money. It just prints money.
I think the thing about adding in drow is it ties you into a setting.
I was not serious about adding drow. Don't add drow. Don't add drow.
No.
Don't.
I like the plug and play format, and drow really locks you out of that.
Agreed. But no, I think this has obviously hit a sweet spot because the number of backers is really solid as well. I think you need to start sort of thinking about what your next steps are. And I think riding this success, really and truly pick up the ball and run with it while it's hot because you want to talk about, did you have stretch goals? Because I don't have the campaign up right now. Did you have stretch goals if you got to this kind of number?
I don't think they have stretch goals explicitly. I think it's more that if they make a larger amount, I don't think they had OSR originally. I think they kind of got added on a little bit later. I think it's more the form of if they make more, they might add something else, they might not, but they try to kind of have it set up as a complete product ready to go. Sort of a no first day DLC kind of thing.
Sure. And so then I think, you've obviously funded. It's obviously written. It's ready to go to the printers and it's going to come out. I think now this is where you start to explore with your backers after it ships. What are you looking for in a follow-up? These are some of my ideas. This is my stream of consciousness. What are you interested in seeing more of? Now you said it's a bud of another colony. This gives you a chance to carve out an entire sort of swath of a Myconid civilization underground that people didn't know about. Some of the politicking that comes from a series of creatures that don't reproduce the way most biological organisms reproduce, right? So a spore field and a nursery and so on and so forth. This gives you a lot more to play with.
Mm-hmm. I think it does. And I haven't really seen much else kind of explore that. Myconids and mushrooms in the underground kind of generally tend to be very, surface level. Surface level. So I don't want to make minding to expect delving deep. But yeah, I see a limited amount of things that kind of focus on that little niche. There's a lot of drow, as you said. Some dwarves, generally kind of more on the Balrog end of things, but not really much that kind of goes into the underground ecology itself, because when you get underground away from primary sources of energy like the sun, things get weird. Like fundamentally, one of my old roommates, she was like a wildlife fishery sciences major, and she would just kind of rant about whatever random ecology she's learning about in class. Underground stuff is alien to the way we think about things. And I think it'd just be really interesting to look into that. What do you get when you kind of go away from the standard humanoid, sun, plant eating, normal style base?
Well, and I think again the issue of myconids are always in the back of everybody's minds from the end of the Slaver series. That's the first time that we were presented with myconids. A3, A4, the Earl Otis illustration really hits home for people for A4. You've got some good black and white interior artwork. You couple that with the image from the original monochrome for B1 that Tramp did. This stuff sort of lingers in our subconscious, and people respond to that, and they're interested in that. And it's also something where there have not been a lot of adventures that have sort of gone down this path. And that's one of the things that struck me right off the bat when I was reading it today, is that it does actually present a side of things like, you have an underground cavern, but the potential is just as fraught for danger in predators, a la the Boule. And I thought it was a great tribute that you had it have a little tattoo that said, Tim Cass says it's Boule. But
absolutely, he'd probably kill me if I didn't.
That's right. But I also like the fact that this is through no direct action of their own. This is an event of consequences. They lost their nursery, they lost their feeding, for lack of better words, their garden. And now they're being forced out of their homes to do some things and try to figure out how to recover and so on and so forth. And that the adventurers are offering the adventurers offer a path to a solution that might get them back to where they were.
Yes. And then also because the fact that there's an air path to the surface at all was kind of a fluke caused by the cave-in.
Right.
And
right.
half of them don't even believe the surface exists. Kind of like if you run a random farmer and you go, hey, do you believe in massive underground civilizations? They just kind of look at you and go, what does that have to do with goats?
I'm afraid to discuss goats on this show. I think we have to have some limits, and I'm just not going near goats.
Okay.
I'm afraid.
That's fair.
All right. So I want to ask you some more about the about being a nepo baby here with your brother being
Go for it.
Marsh. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. No. So when did you actually be able to say, do you know who I am, to somebody that they were talking about? Yeah, man. I've been playing D&D for a while. Have you been? Do you know anything about D&D? And you're like, yes.
Do you know who my father is?
You know who my father is?
Perhaps you are unfamiliar with my lineage.
Do you know who my father is?
Allow me to present my family tree.
Please
See who my father is.
Please let me believe you did that at least once. You've had to do that to somebody. You've had to just punch them.
A little bit. But actually, it probably took me to like a mid-teenager, because at first it went, all right, Dad did some work on a game or something. All right, cool, I guess. But I didn't really realize the impact he had. I thought it was just kind of... I also grew up going to the con, where I didn't realize that half the people I met actually had, like, significance to their names, and not just that one con uncle who had a book at one point. Because a lot of the people I know, I met them when I was 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, just kind of, they're the con uncles. I never really thought about them actually having an impact in the world, if that makes any sense. They're family. Don't really think about it. But I'd say probably when I was around 13 or 14, I think I was chatting with some people at the con, and I kind of realized that, wait, they know my dad? People came here to talk to my dad?
He's just my dad.
He's just my dad. They're asking him how to pronounce, Salguin and Ixochitl. They know my dad? It was kind of weird just kind of get that exposure of...
I would have paid to be there when you finally had the conversation, and he's like, honey, I have to tell you something about myself. I'm a famous game designer.
He's never said that to me.
What?
No, he wouldn't.
Oh,
Steve, that's not Steve at all. No, he's
I've asked him a few times. He's like, I worked on some underwater combat rules. He did tell me the whole thing about making the alignment chart, which is often I find that's the thing that impresses people the most, is because the alignment chart made its way out from D&D into general meme culture. That lawful good, chaotic evil, that spectrum, I see a lot of it, especially back if you go to 2014 to 2017-ish, but even now to an extent. You see people put, say, characters from shows on that. You see all sorts of things. Like the one time I actually pulled that, you know who my father is, was you had a group of people in one of the study rooms in the engineering building on campus talking about their friend group and putting people into boxes.
I think we have a new goal for the Devil's Auction. We need to get Steve up front to say that. I think we need to get Steve in a skit where he actually says, "Do you know who I am?" That's what will make it even funnier, is the fact that it is Steve, and he would never say this.
Let's say, okay, so
him into it.
Rachel, has your dad ever told you the story about Blackmore? He probably never has, because your dad is an amazing guy. And he would, but the story. I'm just gonna look. The story of Blackmore is basically your dad and Tim Kask wrote it. Even though Dave's name appears on it, Dave Arneson, that's not well. Just ask. Tim will tell you the story. Let's put it this way. Tim will tell you the story. Your dad is too modest and humble to tell you the story, but they basically did that. And I didn't know that for years until Tim told me the story. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool that they did that. And now when people talk about Blackmore, they pretty much realize that Tim and Steve's contributions were very considerable to that. It wasn't just editing. It wasn't just editing Dave's work. There was a famous peach basket story that if anybody's hasn't heard it, basically Dave was behind on turning in the notes for Blackmore, and so there's nothing to publish for supplement 2, and Tim and Steve are waiting, and then one day Dave walks in with a peach basket full of paper, just paper just shoved in there, drops it on Tim's desk and walks out. And they're like, okay, I think this is page 5, page 18. And so, and your dad. So, Steve can correct me, but from what Tim says, they basically had to put together that puzzle, that puzzle piece, and work it all out. And it finally got to. And actually, Blackmore's a pretty good supplement. If you read it, it's got a really interesting dungeon in there. It's got some great undersea monsters that your dad has been credited with creating. And it's they did a really good job. So the true story behind that, I don't know if Tim will ever, or I don't know if Steve will tell you, but you could ask Tim and Tim will tell you. Steve's too humble to throw
I've
his.
asked Dad a couple times over the years, and he's told me basically that he did a lot of that. He did some work on it, and there's some stuff going on with Dave Arneson and the company, and he just kind of waves it off.
Yeah, because that's your dad. Your dad's awesome.
Yeah, your dad is so chill. If he got any more chill, he'd be room temperature.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, one of the reasons we just love having Steve at the con too. He's the absolute non-flustered, nonplussed human being of all time, and he just does D&D stuff because he likes to do it. His real job is a lawyer, and a very good lawyer, and he just that's just something he loves doing, and he loves fiddling with BX to this day. He's still publishing BX stuff. And it's great to see Rachel taking up that mantle. That's awesome, because all that talent in the family, you don't want it to go to waste. I mean, you gotta get it going.
I think one thing Dad definitely passed on to me is chains of logic and world building. I guess that sort of is in what they're like. Dad has, I think, put only one trap into things he's written, and it was like a pail of water that was put there as a prank ages ago. He doesn't really do. He looks at them and he goes, "All right, why would someone pay to install that?" So looking at things and trying to lower the suspension of disbelief, to make it so that you can kind of go, "All right," and apply real world logic to things. It's very much just kind of his style, and I think it's influenced a lot about the way I look at it. Where I'm like, "All right." Also, civil engineering. Everything comes down to who's willing to pay for stuff. It's kind of my major. And I look at that, and I think it's influenced a lot with the way I write, where it's like, all right, there's actually a whole section in the module about the local geology of the region that got cut out because it wasn't really necessary for people to know about the types of limestone in the area. Which understandable, but it was a lot of fun.
I don't know how to tell you this, but there's not really a lot of limestone appreciation in fantasy role-playing games to the degree that perhaps there should be.
Not enough. No, not.
But I
definitely
mean,
not enough.
if you
No,
feel
not
that
enough.
as the writer, you need to release a PDF with some of the left out pieces available to download, nothing's going to stop them from having some limestone appreciation. And I think this might take the word LARP into a completely different direction, right? So it could be limestone aficionado role players, and then, I mean, don't even get me started. We could get into Obsidian, and then it's all over with, right? Because you'll pull all the anthropology geeks in, and they're going to be like, I want to show you how I made an arrowhead.
So the thing about the whole limestone is when I was figuring out the cave structure, I was actually diagramming out like how far down it needs to be, what kind of soil transition zones you get, so this whole thing could be structurally sound. I didn't really write most of that stuff into the module, but some of the limestone stuff and the local just stability of the soil did make it in there. Because how do you make it close enough to the surface to have a fluke air channel while also having it far enough away that it's structurally stable and sound, but also will they can burrow through?
I believe you are, in fact, our first guest that appreciates limestone as much as you do. And I think you should be applauded for that. And I think we should encourage more. I think this is just wonderful. I love listening to the like chain of thought that made you pull back from the abyss. And that's good on you. But yes, it's a lot of fun.
Well, I had lunch with Rachel last week or the week before with my wife, and my wife's an engineer nerd too, just like Rachel. So they were doing the engineer nerd thing, and I loved the fact that Rachel was getting into these really esoteric aspects of her module that had to do with engineering, and my wife was interested, and I'm just like, my taco is delicious over here. This is a great taco. Because they're talking about the civil engineering aspects of a civilization under the ground, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome stuff, man. This taco is good.
The tacos were good.
I had to help get a electrical engineer hired at 3M, and this is one of my all-time favorite stories. You know, they wanted somebody with a really, really, really great electrical engineering background, and we finally found them a candidate, and he was amazing, but all of his electrical engineering work from the time he had gotten out of the university until when we were presenting him as a candidate had been on government black projects. And so it was all behind classified documentation. And so we got a panel interview, and they put him through just a grinder of a 3-hour interview, and he was drawing things on the board and answering questions and so on and so forth. And so they said, well, can you step out of the room? We'd like to talk. So I went in and we had a chat. And of the 5 people on the panel, 4 were like, he's a hire. We got to hire him. We got to hire him. We got to hire him, right? Because they wanted young blood in the department. But there was one guy who was stuck in the mud. He's just like, argh. And I said, well, like, let me bring him back in and you can ask him any questions. And so they go back and forth for another minute. And finally, the candidate says, can I tell you my favorite joke? And they're like, sure. And he says, do you know the difference between electrical engineers and civil engineers? And there's like this pause. And he says, electrical engineers build the things that blow up what civil engineers build. And there's like a pause, and the entire table explodes laughing. And finally, the 5th guy goes, yeah, okay, we got to hire him. It was like, bingo, there we go. So there's your difference between civil engineers and electrical engineers.
I love that. I absolutely love that. What I've also found here is the difference between civil engineers and aerospace engineers is we make targets and they make missiles.
Yeah.
They make missiles, we make targets.
Yes,
That's you know what? That might just be too much on target to actually.
That's not got as much levity as. Yes,
Yeah, that's kind of.
Okay, fair. I guess we get to a point where essentially we make all the important things that if you crypt, we make all the stuff that you don't notice until it stops working. Like
that's right. People notice when the bridge collapses.
Bridge collapsing. There's actually a bridge that got stopped for safety repairs. Actually, think back in 2020. Yep, I think it was late May 2021. I know this because I was trying to go through Tennessee on a road trip to an internship when this very day the bridge got shut down. It was obnoxious. But basically, the way we look at it is making targets means you make all the important stuff people care about.
You know who could have used a good engineer was the city of New Orleans about 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. And they didn't really spend their money
about
correctly.
that no more.
I'm sorry. That.
No, actually, as one of my projects back in my sophomore year, we all did case studies, and my group's case study was actually Hurricane Katrina and the flooding thereof, looking at the dams, looking at the overflow, looking at what failed and where. And part of that was actually looking over the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers official reports. And because this was made back in the early aughts, there was Comic Sans in a couple of the title pages because that was very much in vogue. But overall, it was very well put together, and it was really interesting to see. But yeah, looking at where it failed, the points of failure, what parts were expected, which parts were not, and how it kind of backfired. It was really neat.
Strangely enough, when you build a city below water level, you might have problems.
Yeah, that's you shouldn't. You're telling me not to build your city in a swamp? What is wrong with you, Jim? Come on now.
I mean, okay, the thing about swamps is they're generally close to water, which means you get beautiful trade opportunities. Also, you actually tend to get pretty rich soil, one because of river outflow, and also because of storms, because storms tend to kind of mix around the soil a bit and help increase fertility. And so generally the places people live and like to live tend to be the places that get natural disasters. Which one of the safest places to live in terms of weather and earthquake events is Death Valley. It's a very geologically stable region. You don't get any storms. You don't get any flooding. It's very stable. You don't get really any unexpected weather, but it's really hot and it's terrible to live in.
Well, the story between in Texas, Houston versus Galveston, the early part, late 19th century, early 20th century, Galveston was the big city. Houston was a swamp. Nobody wanted to do anything in Houston. It was a swamp. And then we had the gigantic hurricane, one of the largest hurricanes in history came through, totally wiped out the city of Galveston with nothing left. Killed hundreds and hundreds of people. And so they said, okay, we're going to go up further up the coast and do Houston. And that's why to this day, Houston floods. I mean, it's miserable in the summer. It's humid. It's a swamp. Houston was built on a swamp. Not the most ideal place to build, but that was the alternative because they didn't want their city to get wiped out by a hurricane again. Of course, Houston, every time the weather's bad, it floods. So it's you're just trading one off for the other. So
I have a book that was published after Galveston got wiped off the map. And what's really interesting about that is that a photographer went through Galveston and took pictures of the downtown and some of the bigger houses, and he was putting together a tourist guide of Galveston. And after the hurricane swept Galveston off the map, and it was actually the single largest mass casualty event in the United States to that point, he went back and retook pictures from the exact locations he had taken the first pictures from, and it is the most horrific thing you'll ever see. Literally, there are just stumps. There are literally stumps of fence posts and building structures where literally the wave of water washed everything away. I think it's 2,700, 2,800 people. It's a
Eric Larson, a guy named Eric Larson, who also wrote Devil in the White City, wrote a book. One of the first books he wrote was Isaac Storm, which is about the Galveston hurricane. Most of Eric Larson's stuff is really, really good. But my two favorite books by him are Devil in the White City and
I got the numbers horribly wrong. Estimated 6,000 to 8,000 people wiped off the face of the earth in an instant.
Jim, I believe it's still the most people lost to a natural disaster in the United States. If I'm correct.
It is.
Although for safety concerns before the threat was known about, and it's a barrier island. It's incredibly vulnerable.
Yep.
Absolutely.
The other really great disaster to read about is when in Texas a railroad company sold picnic tickets and crashed two steam engines into each other. That's one of my other favorite stories of Texas of all time. That's where you paid a seat to have shrapnel thrown at you.
As the crash at Crush. Yes, we still talk about that. Well,
God.
see, when you said another disaster, I thought you were going to work the Dallas Cowboys in here. So I'm kind of thank you for.
No, I was
for not doing
waiting.
that, Jim.
I was waiting
appreciate
for
that.
Cowboy Chat tonight because I'm ready. Because this is the time of year where Cowboys fans are like, "Here we go! The cheerleader show got us all pumped up. It's going to be an amazing season, and it's going to just."
Have you seen the post by myself, Ty Beard, and Greg Gillespie? There is no joy in Whoville. There is zero joy in Whoville.
No, it's. I mean, you are strapped to the railroad tracks, and the train is bearing down on you. You got nothing coming, nothing to save you. Right? Yeah. Dudley Do-Right is not going to be there, buddy.
I feel like I'm in between those two trains that are about to run into each other at 100 miles an hour or whatever. Yes, that's.
I love that the cheapest parking spot at the stadium is $75.
Oh,
that's the cheapest parking spot.
Yeah, highest park in NFL. Highest park in the NFL, and let me just throw this in there: Arlington is the largest city in the United States without mass transit. Why would you say that? Because Jerry has fought it every time they've tried to pass mass transit. Why would you want to take a bus or a train or anything else to see the game when you can park in one of the $75 parking spaces? Yes. No, we're well aware of this, Jim. We're well aware of this. Yes. Ridiculous. Don't even get me started. I was having a good time tonight talking to Rachel. Okay.
Oh no, we're still good. We're still good.
Okay. Anyways, all of this to say, civil engineering is present in every one of those things mentioned. We're trying. We do our best.
Yes. You tuned in to Tab Module Chat, and now we've gotten into a discourse about the importance of civil engineering and where you shouldn't live in the United States. So if you're near a body of water, you're on borrowed time, my friend.
No, that's what's great about talking to engineers. That's why I love talking. I love talking to my wife too, because my wife has all this esoteric information, and there's nothing better. Look, I always tell my wife when I first started dating her, and she was going to college and everything. I would go to.
Oh, he froze. Take a drink. Yes. If you're late tuning in, we now have the talking. We have the Talking Crit drinking game. Every time Mike freezes on screen, you take a drink.
See, I don't even see myself freeze. I don't even know I'm freezing. So, am I still?
I think frozen? It was only like a short blip. I think I barely noticed it at all.
Well, anyway, so I got invited to some of my wife's engineering, and I'm going to use the quotation parties. Where the and I got to hear a lot of engineering jokes.
Oh, God help you.
Excuse you. We're perfectly socially competent in our own circles.
Yeah, in your own circles, but once you get outside of your circle and strangers from other places come in, this has got to be like, would you like to hear about my character? No, I would not. I don't need to hear about your character.
It's very similar.
Only if we're open to critique.
I was hoping we could discuss tensile strengths of wire. Not on my
lifetime. That actually sounds like a fun time, though.
I know. Yeah, Rachel would have loved those engineering parties. But no, that's...
Because this is just the wire. It depends on the metal involved. The metal alloys are really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got to take a drink. Hold on.
His face. Jim's face is just...
Whoa. Well, hold on a second. Yeah, I got to take another one. I'm still trying. Yes, Mike's on the path there. Okay. So anyway.
Oh, wow. Let's hear some more of those engineering jokes.
Bring them on, Rachel. Keep them coming. This is great. I like that you prefaced it with in my own social circle. Once we're off the reservation, all bets are off. Tell me more, Professor Frank. Tell me more.
Hey, look, we're better than the comp sci majors, okay? We're better than the comp sci majors. I mean, it's not a high bar, but still.
Well, one of the great things about knowing Eric for so long is I've heard, I might have heard all his comp stories. I don't know. There may be some I haven't heard yet, but I love to hear them time and again. No, there's some that are great, but they're great. They're great stuff. I love to hear the comp stories. Engineering stories and cop stories are kind of different, you know. Well, one involves really kind of cool stuff and guns and people taking poops on top of buildings, and Eric knows all, and you know, and then the horror.
You are literally just drawn a contrast between the smartest people in the population who are the engineering people, and America's dumbest criminals. And this is the contrast, right? Eric was arresting people who thought they could get away with things after they had pooped themselves. And Rachel is talking about people who build things we drive over every day and we don't think about it. These two things do not belong together.
We do design for dumb people.
Things is not like the other.
Oh my God!
One of my transportation professors actually said that he was very adamant that there are no car accidents, only car crashes, because if people could just drive properly, we wouldn't have deaths on the highway.
Oh my God!
Wait,
right? Like
he would die on that hill.
Have you seen New Jersey? I'm just gonna leave it like that.
I
have to. I don't want to see New Jersey.
I took it over New Jersey, and it was an interesting experience. It was cutting off.
So
Portland to
if
traffic
you're
to
late coming into Talking Crit, we've spent the first hour speaking with the lovely Rachel Marsh about her crowdfunding project that's on right now, Forest of the Spores, an adventure for 5e, OSR, and Castles and Crusades. It's funded with 17 days left to go. It's magnificent fun. It has myconids. It has an albino boule. It has everything under the sun, and Tim Kask won't yell at us because we're pronouncing boule correctly. You should back it. It's delightful. I read it this afternoon. It's a great one-shot. You could do a lot worse, and you've probably bought a lot worse, but really and truly. So, good stuff.
About the traffic accidents being more the thing about car crashes is that they're pretty much almost always due to human error in some way, shape, or form. We designed for braking distance. We designed for actually really slow reaction times, around 2.5 seconds. But the vast majority of any type of car-related crash or incident is going to be due to human error, because that's one thing you can't really fix.
I'm waiting for the surprise here. Is there a surprise coming? Because I haven't heard anything that I haven't figured out just by driving for the last, 40 years of my life.
Yeah, I'd say occasionally you get issues where you have things that are, poor issues or things that need to be repaired or things that need to be maintained better, and that's just going to exacerbate human error. But I wouldn't say necessarily that human deaths on the highway are on purpose, so much as they are caused by humans not being careful enough.
Eric, I'm going to send you a picture.
We drive multi-ton death machines on a regular basis.
Yeah, and we're distracted very easily too. So the problem, the reason this is important is because almost everybody that gets in a horrible accident tries to say the car did something it didn't do, and you're right, Rachel. 95% of the time, it's because of human error, not because the car was doing something. That's why it's so. That's why when there's a car recall, it's. I have a brand new car. I've had 4 recalls in the past year over little tiny things, just little stuff, but they're petrified that the car. But one of the things that might happen of your drivetrain, that is that there's the 0.08% chance it could explode and catch you on fire. Well, they're overly sensitive to that now because of lawsuits like this. So
because of lawsuits,
I'm much more worried about people.
I mean, lawsuits, but you also got like the Ford Pinto.
That was a design issue. That's squarely on your guys' shoulders.
That was a design issue. We actually talked about a case study in my ethics class, which actually civil engineering is actually one of the only majors that just fundamentally requires an ethics class. Because if you mess up in say electrical engineering, you get a recall or you lose money. In civil engineering, if you mess up, people die. I got kind of used to hearing death stories. A lot of my classes used just case studies. Here's why we do this. Here's why it matters. Here's why we care.
We in the law call it negligence, and that's how that's how those guys make a living. Cha-ching. Yes. Well,
all right. I'm going to send.
But yeah, so Forest of Spores. I like limestone. I'm studying a little bit of limestone for my concrete stuff, and the way people interact with the world and the way that world interacts with them, that all ties into the grander network of things. It's going to find very interesting. It's part of why I'm civil engineering. It isn't glamorous, but it's interesting. And it's just the way I see the world.
No, that's cool. And look, that fits in perfectly with your logical worldview, and I've heard you talk about your job, and you're very passionate about it. That's something that we can't overlook is young people, and yes, you're young compared to these three old grognards here, but you're very passionate about your stuff, and that's something that we lose sometimes when we talk to people our own age. I mean,
God
knows,
was a passenger in a
goodness.
brand new Trans Am that was doing the speed limit when somebody in a 1971 Vista Cruiser pulled out in front of us and left us 120 feet to stop at 65 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
So I watched the hood fold 3 times. You can actually see the folds. Then the windshield shattered, the dashboard came in, and that's when I blacked out. And so, yes, it's human error. I have been in 5 car wrecks. Like, statistically, I'm off the chart. But every single time, it has always been human error. Like, there's no surprises here. I show this picture to my son just before he started to learn how to drive, to understand that, it's not about your situational awareness. It's your situational awareness about all the idiots around you. That you don't look at the car in front of you, you look at the car in front of it, because that's how fast you're going to have to be able to respond. And so I just thought I would share this real quick. Like,
Jim, you say human error, and I say that you have insulted a gypsy at some point in the past.
Yes, the angry bog marsh witch is like, she still zinged me. So
I used to drive. So I used to drive 100,000 miles a year for 13 years. And I only got into 2 wrecks, and they're both rear ends. It weren't my fault. So I don't know what you're doing, but you need to find this.
The second one, a guy ran in front of me, and I T-boned him. The third was down the side of a car that came over into my lane. The last one I got rear-ended, but just it's all idiots. It's nothing but idiots out there.
Have you tried to find the gypsy and apologize and say,
the gypsy's dead. I'm just stuck with it at this point.
Yeah.
It's like the Cubs.
It's like the Cubs.
There you go.
Yes, it's like the Cubs.
3 accidents, 2 of which took my car to commission. One was a single car. I hit an oil slick on a rainy highway. That sucked. The other, somebody blew through a light after making the turn, didn't see me coming. And I was like, shit. And the great part about that one, the kid confessed that he didn't see the light till it was too late. And I made sure he told the cop the same story before his father got to the scene. Mm-hmm. So, that was perfect. And the last one, I got rear-ended. So, yeah, it's 99% human error. Except hitting gear. I will say I've come close. My mother took one out. But if you're where deer are, it's like rolling a natural one. At some point, you're gonna.
I will say I appreciate police officers so much. The second rear end I got, the guy rear-ended me, pretty high speed, trashed our cars. He had his kid in the car with him. We're talking after the accident. Police officer drives up, starts talking to us. Halfway through the talk, he turns to the guy. He says, "You've been drinking, sir." And I just was like, what? And he goes, yeah. And I realized at that point, you're right. His breath smelled like alcohol. That officer looked like, I think I almost saw a murder that day. He was so angry because the guy had his kid in the car with him. and he was so angry, he walked off. And had to compose himself. He came back to me. He said, "Tell your insurance company to call my personal number, and I will tell them exactly what happened here today." And I was very happy with the check that made its way to my desk eventually, because the guy was 100% at fault for driving. But luckily that officer spotted it. I didn't even spot it. I was so shook up from getting rear-ended. But the officer immediately spotted this guy's drunk. He's been driving. He's got his kid in the car with him, and I am going to hammer his ass.
Take a drink.
With a kid in the car? Holy smokes!
It was a small Cylon, but big enough.
So my last car wreck, I got rear-ended, and I was the front car. There were 2 cars behind me, and the 4th car hit the back one that knocked it into that and knocked it into me. She hit it at 65 miles an hour. She was a nanny with 2 kids in the back seat, and she was looking at her phone and didn't look up to see that the light was red. And I could see her coming in my rearview mirror. I could see her coming up behind us at speed. and I blasted the horn, and the car in front of me saw me white knuckle the wheel and like, get out, get out, get out. He pulled out because the intersection was clear. He went against the light and got out of the way, and I took all the impact in the truck and didn't move. So I didn't hit him, and the chain ended with me, but it was a nightmare. And that woman was like oblivious. She was literally on her phone, and I could see her on the phone as she went into it.
One quick second. Can I take 3 minutes? My cat's bothering me. I need to go fill up her food bowl.
Oh.
Unacceptable.
Your cat's bothering you? What the hell?
No kidding.
Our cats bother us all the time.
Go, Rachel, go.
Okay,
Go.
Yeah.
Go.
Speaking of cats, where's my cat? She doesn't bother me, and I'm worried. Where's your cat?
We have
Eric?
so much to talk about tonight. We've got so many good things to talk about tonight. This is going to be so much fun.
Eric, what happened? What happened the day after our show last week? Because it was like a cornucopia of WotC news.
I begin to think they time it for Thursday, so we won't talk about it. I think they're now timing these things on Thursday.
That was the news that they are not. Well, the news since they backtracked that they were not going to support any 2014 stuff on their VT, which quickly they backtracked on. Which I guess that's good news that they actually listened to people for once.
Well, here's the thing, and this is the part which I find amazing. They backtracked on a Sunday night, which means that somebody somewhere of authority saw what was happening and was like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh yeah.
out of your fucking mind. How much does it cost us to fix this? Because if we're nickel and diming and we're losing dollars, there's an issue. And I think, especially since they're already talking about Project Sigil, you can play any RPG on it. You can play any.
Good
RPG.
luck with that.
They said in their video, if they're billing that as you can play any RPG, then how can we kill 5e? How can you kill the traditional 5e rule set on D&D Beyond, because that's integrated into Project Sigil? How do you do that? And that was obviously, oh no, we're only changing. The only thing that you can't put over are spells and magic items. Why not? Well, probably because somebody said that's a lot of work, and two, put that work on the players. If you want to use it in your campaign, you gotta copy it over and make it a homebrew piece, and then there's a lot of bullshit going on in that. And I'm not a 5e player, but I appreciate 5e players for their love of the system. And that was a way to push what they felt was going to be a significant portion of their community into 5.5, D&D Forever, 2024. I don't know what the proper terminology is. I really don't care. It's not.
Hello, return. How much? All right.
You missed everything, lady. You missed everything.
Dang it!
Yeah, no, we're transitioning to the second half of the show, which is This Week in Gaming Stupid, which could be subtitled This Week in WotC Stupid, but you know.
Which at this point the T-shirts have already been made saying that. So, well, I thought it was interesting because the fact, like you said, Eric, that really struck me. The fact that they backtracked so quick.
Yeah. Oh, I think they got a really good sense of the rumbling of things on Friday, and then on Saturday it was picking up speed, and the last thing they wanted was another OGL disaster by Monday morning. I think that's absolutely what motivates it. I think they're now starting to be a little bit more circumspect when the reactions start to land.
Okay, what kind of drama did I miss? Because this is some really hot tea.
What happened is that last Thursday, WotC did an update for their D&D Beyond. They made a community update, and it's like, hey, listen, we're going to be updating for the 2024 rules. Don't worry, it's still compatible with 2014, except for spells and magic items. Those are all being updated to 2024, and you won't have any option to use that unless you individually, for every spell or magic item that you want to continue using, copy and paste and make it a homebrew. In other words, putting it into the hand of their consumer who's already paying for the service. It's on you to do the work, because if we figure you do the work, you're not going to do it, and you'll just come along to 2024. So blowback was quick and quick. It was loud, and and by Sunday night, again, on the weekend, they made an update, like an emergency update in the evening. Well, we've heard your concerns loud and clear, and you'll be able to still use those older rules that we wanted to wash away, because
at some point sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
At some point, the pitchforks and torches aren't going to work. At some point, they're going to say, "Well, we've committed, and we're just going to continue to do this." Now,
right.
I think I think this is. You want to believe that there's a sanity test going on, that somebody at leadership actually goes, "Oh, wait a minute," but they're committed to the path, right? All the leadership that's in play, all the people that they've elevated to positions of authority are committed to this. And this is being driven, again, we've talked about this. This is being driven from top down. It's not from, these are not their end consumers begging them to do this. This is WotC trying to turn this into another Blizzard microtransaction, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But they seem to fundamentally not understand. The people at WotC don't seem to understand. Now it's interesting. Did you see the interview with Ray Winninger that started to make the rounds the last couple of days?
Yes, very interesting. Yes,
I think that's something that we need to share and talk about. I like Ray. I've known Ray for 30 years. He was a guy who loved D&D. He got his start at Mayfair working on Rolaids products and Ray Winninger's Underground and so on and so forth. He's been in and out of the industry for a long time. He's got a lot of great perspective on things. I like Ray a lot. He's a good guy. Ray was at WotC. Ray was at WotC for 5th edition. Ray was let go. But Ray has some very interesting perspectives about how 3.0 is what led to 5.0. And I think there's some good things to pick up from that. I think that's sort of what drives this conversation. I know I'm a broken record when I say I think we're entering that mid-'80s period where TSR floundered and the rest of the RPG industry blossomed into 1,000 different directions. And I think we're in that period again. But I do think that I thought, again, the speed with which they backpedaled was interesting. I think that's a very noticeable. That's very different from OGL, where OGL went on for weeks.
Yeah. I think because one thing is the top brass isn't actually really made of gamers.
Right.
Well, and then
generally, at least at this point.
Another thing
my student, there's my student right there. I've been telling her.
I've had a couple of people who have whispered that when the OGL disaster happened.
Yes, that's what I've been saying for months.
When the OGL disaster happened, WotC didn't just get pressure from consumers. Yes, as soon as you start canceling your D&D Beyond subscriptions, they start noticing these things, and when enough people do, they really notice these things. But there was pressure coming from other channels, other profit channels for WotC. And I think, again, they want a tactical ground game that avoids those other channels coming back at them and saying, wait a minute, why can't I sell my beholder slippers anymore? Why does nobody want my beholder slippers? And why does everybody say the problem is you? And that's a hard question to answer when the people who make beholder slippers come to you and ask questions like that.
Licensing.
Yes, the word I was trying to not use, but sure. Yes, that's... You're subtle, like a brick, Rachel. That's what we like about you.
Thanks! I get it naturally. But I think one thing that bothers me about some of the changes they've made is the description for half-elves, the original player's handbook. I have a friend, old roommate. She's half Chinese, mom's Chinese, dad's white. And the original description for half elf, she said, is some of the best biracial representation she's ever seen. Kind of being in two worlds, not really feeling like either. It's part of what really made her jump into the game to an extent, because it felt, because yeah, half elf is you're not really human, you're not really an elf. It's kind of an awkward position. And they removed as they removed all the flavor text, they took that out. Kind of basically going, half elves are like any other person. She's like, okay, but where's the biracial representation? Where is that? Because when she was reading it, she's like, yeah, this is written by somebody who gets it.
And I think that's a great selling point. I mean, D&D, the important part about role-playing fiction, and we can talk about Dragonlance, we can talk about whatever. All the major characters of all the different books that have come and gone under TSR and WotC and so on. The idea behind all of these books is that you can put yourself into one of those characters. You know, more often than not, one of the things that we sort of make jokes about, but we laughingly accept, is that a lot of the people who play D&D were not a normal part of their community. They were not somebody who was in the in crowd or whatever. That's changed dramatically with 5th edition. You see a lot. There's a lot when D&D is popular. There's a lot more popular people playing D&D, but D&D has always sort of existed out on some of these fringes. And so the notion of being the outsider in a strange land, exiled from his homeland, you know, all of this just sort of, it's easy to put on those boots and go for a walk and feel like that character. That's one of the reasons why D&D has always had those elements to it. What you're talking about with somebody who can identify with a character that is astride two cultures. You know, this is something a lot of people can relate to, and a lot of people in modern day can relate to, even more so than 40 years ago. And that's okay. We have a great melting pot effect in this country, and taking that and just wishing it away. I'm still trying to understand the orcs in the illustrations that we've seen, and I'm still confused. It hurts me. I can show you on the platypus. I can show you on the platypus where the illustration of the orcs hurt me, but it's mostly.
Yeah.
But still, I got nothing.
Ooh.
I got nothing. Nothing at all.
Well, look, I think if nothing else, the response coming so quickly, as somebody was saying up earlier in the thread, it means that they do have plans in place now, because they're kind of resigned to the fact that, yeah, some of the people we have working for us are going to screw up because they're screw ups. And so we're going to have a plan in place. We're not going to let it roll on like the OGL crisis did for days and weeks and not knowing what's going on. Does that mean they're learning? Does that mean they're better? I don't know if it means they're better.
Hey, listen, you burn a flatworm enough, it figures stuff out. Right? Like, I don't know. I don't think they watch our show on Thursday morning and go, we better consider that. No. But when they see the torches, I mean, when people are sharpening the pitchforks and lighting the torches, even they can figure this out.
I think they've realized that in many ways their corporate goals are prone to misalignment with community expectations.
I think, first of all, they would have to give a shit about the community expectations. And I don't believe that among the people here, I'm not sure we really buy that what they want and what the community wants are necessarily in alignment. Because they want to turn the consumers over and get every last penny.
Yep.
They want to make money. Yeah, they want to make a lot of money. But and look, that's the American way, or whatever. I
have
no problem with them wanting to make a lot of money.
I don't fault them for wanting to make money. I don't. But at the same time, don't kill the goose that's laying the golden eggs. And they seem determined to not just kill the goose, but to kill the goose in the most painful ways in public that are both rude and just unnecessarily painful to the goose. And I don't understand that. I just don't. I don't.
And look, we made the point before that you have a game like Call of Cthulhu that's been.
He froze. Take a drink.
It has had 7 different versions. And I'm perfectly happy with letting these versions exist next to each other. Okay. Come on now.
You gotta slow your roll, buddy.
I didn't freeze that bad. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! I didn't freeze that bad. No, but a game like Call of Duty that's
You froze again. You froze again.
Even the platypus knows you froze.
Even I noticed. It's another one. It's 3 in a row.
There you go.
Oh God, his wife's watching Jeopardy.
Oh God. So here's the other thing too. When they had their video from yesterday, when they start talking about Project Sigil, their VTT, their initial pitch is everybody enjoyed D&D, everybody enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3, and this is a way for you to continue enjoying your experiences with Baldur's Gate 3. Well, that's Baldur's Gate and D&D. I mean,
I thought it was Baldur's Gate.
Whatever.
Yeah, come on.
I'm a New Yorker. Hey,
New
I'm happy I can
New Yorker.
I can't believe I shaved for this.
Wait.
Okay,
I didn't. Oh.
It's a fairly solid game. It's fairly solidly done.
Oh no! We're not talking about Baldur's Gate. We're still beating on WotC's dead horse. Hold on, just gotta slow your roll there, Rachel. Come on, don't cross the streams.
They don't care about the tabletop gamers because tabletop RPGers, the only person that spends any significant money is the GM. The players all scoot for free, but if you're a computer gamer, everybody's paying. You're used to everybody paying, and they want everybody paying. They complained about that 2 years ago. It's like, oh, it's under monetized because only the DM buys stuff. Well, now this is their way of getting everybody to buy stuff. And the fact that they're telling you can use it with other RPGs is even more telling. Because they want to control the market, which they already do for tabletop RPGs. They want to control the VTT market. And sure. All you need is a dice roller and voice chat and maps. You don't need to have integrated rules built in for your Call of Cthulhu game or OSC. But yes, use our table because you got to pay for it anyway. So my rant is over.
I am pleased to see how quickly they reacted.
Yes.
I think that I don't know. I want WotC to succeed. I do. I want WotC to succeed. I've talked about this. They need to go through the wilderness. They need to reach the other side. They need to find a way to be creative. They need to find a way to do new things. I want WotC to go into a phase where they're just as creative and original as late TSR before the WotC takeover was. I want them to come up with things like Dark Sun, and I want them to come up with things like Planescape, and I want them to absolutely foster an amazing period of creativity, but we're years and years and years away from that. And so we're just starting to go into the dark woolly forest, and it's going to be painful for a while. And I'm pleased to see them react the way they did after the announcement last week. But they're still committed to this path. They're still committed to this virtual path, and that's fine. But the rest of us aren't going along with them. Right? I remember Gleemax. Let's never let them forget Gleemax.
Do I want to know what this is?
The brain. Oh, you don't know Gleemax? Oh,
Rachel, we'd have to be here for hours, but this was this.
We can give you the elevator pitch. What if you could design a D&D game that was made from the start to be played on their very own VTT, which if you wanted to get 5 orcs, you'd pay 25 cents an orc to put them on your board because you'd have to buy all your miniatures. People used to buy it. And they're so cheap.
This is 40K with extra steps.
But this was going to be D&D 4th edition. And what happened was, unlike with the new VTT, Project Sigil, where they've apparently hired hundreds of programmers to make this shit work, they had 2. And the 2 were a couple. And the couple went bad. And one half of the couple killed the other half and then committed suicide. So then you had no programmers. Part of the issue too is that they were showing 3D dice, but they cribbed, and that was what they showed in trailers. But it was actually Fantasy Grounds video of their 3D dice in action. So they didn't even have the software for that. They were just cribbing it from another company. So yeah, their history is
Their
not
track
good.
record's not great. We'll just put it that way. Their track record's
Yeah.
not great.
If you want to know why 4E
But-
failed, it was built to support a VTT that never was.
But one of my favorite subjects this week, and I don't
Oh
think we talked
God,
about
he's
this
broken
yet.
up again.
There's
Take
a
a drink.
starter set coming out in the fall. Now, so there's a starter set coming out in the fall for D&D, right? For D&D Beyond. Guess what the featured setting is, Eric?
Forgotten Realms.
The featured setting,
Oh, he broke out again.
the Keep on the
Yep.
Borderlands and the Caves of Chaos, because once again, they have taken another squeeze of the lemon because they're so bankrupt intellectually. They have to go all the way back to 1980 to get their ideas. They haven't had a good idea since before Eberron. I mean, look, I love Keep on the Borderlands. If you want to keep doing Keep on the Borderlands, fine. But my God, at some point, do you have something else that could be a classic D&D module besides Keep on the
But
Borderlands
Mike,
or Tomb of Horrors or whatever?
that is literally what they use for playtesting D&D Next. That was what. Again, there's no creativity there. They were afraid to be creative because if they're going to offend somebody. So just
What is the last? Look,
Make a new setting. Make a new setting. That's what this
I suggested Minds of Fandelver might be something you could work with because that was actually created for 3rd or 4th edition. I can't remember. It's considered, people like it. It's considered well regarded. Why on earth do you keep going back 40 years? These are the same people that you say are, morally bankrupt and terrible human beings, and you keep going back to their creations over and over again.
But we need your money.
Yeah.
Please
We
buy
hate
this.
you, but we need your money.
Please buy
We
the
don't
500
like you.
version.
You have wrong
Yeah.
think, but we need your money.
It's kind of like asking why Hollywood keeps like re-releasing old things, keeps like
Right.
remastering.
They're bankrupt of creativity. Rachel, you might not realize this, but the only new system that WotC has published, and since they picked up the IP and trademark for D&D, is Eberron. And Eberron wasn't even developed in-house. It was a contest. So the last
was a contest?
setting-
It was a contest. How old are you?
Contest. Yes. So when you look at it, there hasn't been a new setting developed in-house for D&D since the TSR.
No, wait a minute. What was the undead setting that got one book? I can't think of the name of it. I don't have.
Ghost Watch?
Yeah,
or
Ghost Watch. Yeah, there was a world where the ghosts, you could interact with the ghosts, and I can't think of it.
If they didn't support it, it's not a setting. It's a
No,
one
but like it was one of these books that somehow managed to make it through the production process that still boggles my mind. But I mean, I think there are notes of creativity, but yes, you're right. No actual published setting that they developed themselves after the WotC takeover.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and Eberron was a contest winner.
And Strixhaven doesn't count. Yeah.
Well, I still don't understand what Strixhaven is supposed to be other than a thinly veiled Harry Potter clone.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, thinly veiled? Come on, man. It's not thinly. It's not thinly.
I was being charitable.
Yeah, you were. But I saw that, and I just thought the same thing that we always complain about. It's just it's one more addition to the world of sequels and remakes and redos, and we're just gonna do. Look, let's just do Keep on the Borderlands again because nobody did it better than Gary. Let's just do it again. My God, get some creative people. We have creative people in our industry, Jim and Eric and Rachel. We have Matt Finches. We have Greg Gillespie's. We have Jeff Tolangians. We have, my God, we have creative human beings in this industry that can create something lasting.
Then let them make all the money. WotC obviously doesn't need them. Let WotC do whatever they want, and the rest of us can go in different directions.
I think it's one thing. It always seems to be kind of the same general token-esque approach, where it's like, all right. I mean, I mentioned the half Chinese friend, the old roommate. we always kind of joke that she's a half elf, and it kind of ended up that in my homebrew setting, elves are all Chinese. Just kind of happened based off jokes that kind of roped into a thing. And I see sort of the same token-esque settings again and again. It's like, all right, if you want some creativity, be willing to mix things up a bit. Not all elves need to be the same. Not all dwarves need to be the same. They're kind of mine are like vaguely.
Yeah, he froze again. Take a drink. Appreciate the spot.
Mike, you're killing me. If I had liquor, I'd be in trouble.
Okay, let's talk about other happy things. So I don't have any of them yet, but the first Lego D&D minifigs have started to land at Walmarts around our fine country.
I saw them. It looked kind of cool.
You should have bought all of them you've seen. Apparently, the rares are the Mind Flayer. It's Saz. What's his name? Which that's Vecna, right? Saz Tam.
I guess so.
I don't know. So, Saz Tam, the Mind Flayer, the Lady of Pain, and then I believe the Witch, whatever her name is, Tasha. I think those are the rares out of the 16 figures. And so go forth to Walmart, my children, and look on the end caps and buy all the D&D Lego minifigs and surround yourself, deck out your castle, live the dream. There's a first cheery note. And were we going to talk about something divine tonight? I thought we were going to talk about something divine tonight.
Hold on, because we're talking about this arrived today.
Oh, that's very shiny.
Yes. So,
Very
this
shiny.
actually on Amazon, and it's got Minsk from the
Minsk and Boo! Minsk and Boo.
So, and this was like, I don't know, $9 on Amazon. It might have been the last one, folks. I don't know. Just showing that arrived. I'm not a collector, so I'll probably break this open and just put things on my shelf.
Yeah, if I don't freeze the next 5 minutes, can I segment where I show you things that I'm going to eventually put up for sale when I'm cleaning out my office? You got.
Okay, but first you have to use your you have to quit using your Hayes 300 baud modem.
Dial up is so yesterday, Mike.
Have you seen this? Has anybody seen this ever?
We can't see it now.
This is the original Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh God.
Raiders of the
Mike.
Lost Ark.
Dead Mike. I can just text him.
Stop moving.
It's literally just a blur of pixelation.
Mike, we would see it if you had internet.
Stop moving. Oh God. You're hurting the platypus, Mike. You're hurting the platypus.
I'm texting him. I can call if needed.
I can
No,
hear
he knows
you.
what he's
I
doing.
can hear you. I can hear you.
I can't hear him at all.
Hear you.
I can hear him. I just, Mike, it might be better if you just tell us what you have.
Mike,
Oh, Lord.
Oh, well, now.
Can you guys hear him?
Yeah, we can hear. Oh, we lost him. Did we lose him? We lost him.
He's like, I gotta
What's
get
that mean? Drink a bottle?
Go for the eyes, Boo. Go for the eyes. No, that's that. Yeah, finish the bottle. That would be bad.
Well,
that would
folks,
be very bad.
We know Mike would like to be sponsored for drinking alcohol, but could somebody sponsor him for, like, I don't know, DSL internet?
This just hurts.
Speaking of drinking alcohol, as a kid, I thought Crown Royal was a dice company because all the guys at the con used them for their dice bags. Little purple bags. I thought they were a dice company.
I don't blame you, actually.
I'm not sure where we can start with the jokes now that I know that your dad is sitting in on the chat. That's the more enjoyable part.
Oh, hey, Dad!
Oh, God.
Dad!
Aw. Like he's not going to watch you on the chat. Because Steve's going to be all sweet and lovey until he shivs us in the back because we were making engineering jokes.
Oh, the engineering jokes are fun. It's all good humor. Don't worry, Dad. I'll stop him from killing you. Don't worry about it.
So, anyway.
No, if you really worry about someone getting killed, worry about my sister.
Is he back? He's back, isn't he? He's coming back. Look at him dance. Dance.
And one frame. Okay, there we go.
God.
I'm so throttled.
Okay, I got to text Dad real quick. I'm just gonna tell him hi.
So what have you got there?
Stop moving.
The original
No
Raiders of
move.
the Ark poster by Jim Steranko, who did a visual treatment of Raiders of the Lost Ark before the more famous pictures came out. This was apparently, I looked it up. It was found in Preview magazine in 1980, and I don't even know where I came across this. No clue.
On a total side note, Michael Gross, I am stealing that joke.
Well, Rachel's found another shiny object to look at. So
I
where did
have.
you get that, Mike?
That's really cool.
I don't know. I have no clue. I just did my among my belongings, but apparently it came from something called Preview magazine in 1980, and that's all I know.
So that's the. It would have been a little later, but no, it would have been Preview. Yeah, I'm thinking of a different magazine.
It's the it is the original Raiders of the Lost Ark poster, and I will not get rich off this. They sell for like $40 or $50. They're not super expensive, but yes, it's interesting to see Steranko's take on Indiana Jones. So I
wish we could see it. I look forward to the eBay link.
We've got a couple glimpses. It's pretty cool looking.
He looks a lot like. It's funny. My wife thought he looked a lot like Sly Stallone, and I think she was right. He's very more muscular in the Steranko artwork than Harrison Ford was in real life.
When the University of Kentucky got an extra powerfully strong laser to use in one of their labs, some wit went to the mall and had a little plaque made for it that said, "Forged in hell by the souls of the damned."
Nice.
I always like that.
Honestly.
So what else are you putting up, Mike? Sorry.
No. Just Dad has a quick message for you guys. Apparently somebody just was the chat. He says, to tell them I never shoved anyone in the back. Heather uses a sniper rifle.
I'm glad to know that your dad prefers 6.5 Creedmoor or 300 Win Mag. Hats off to your dad.
No, that's my sister.
What have we
My
got
sister uses
there?
the sniper rifle.
This is a original piece of artwork by Del Tiegler. Comes with a certificate of authenticity on the back. I think I bought it at a Gary Con many years ago. I love snakes. It's from a Hyperborea, Jeff Delaney and Hyperborean module. I don't remember which one, but I really like Del's stuff. Del does some amazing stuff. And then this came from the top of my shelf. I'm probably keeping this because I love this. This is the Dungeon of Dread puzzle box.
Wow.
Which is
very nice.
TSR 1982 jigsaw puzzle, 200 pieces. Still in the shrink wrap.
All right.
Yeah. I'll probably keep that. I love that. That's Elmore, I believe. Yeah, Elmore's artwork, great stuff. More treasures to come as my office continues to be cleaned out. Who knows what we will find within? Perhaps we'll find. I don't know. Perhaps we'll find.
At least 3 dice.
Maybe Dave Tramp here lives under my desk, and we'll find him there. Oh no, wait, he passed away years ago. No, I don't know. Who knows what we'll find there? We have no clue.
This just gets more surreal all the time.
No.
Oh. Yes, preview was more. Well, they had Epic Magazine tie, but the preview was also it was built more around previewing movies and media and Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that. So I think it was a very short-lived magazine in the late 70s, early 80s. So,
is it time? Can we start talking about this? Because I've got questions.
Yes. Hold on.
Talk.
Hold on. Let me give you a solo so people can see it. That's an intimate connection, folks.
So have they started shipping? Is that the landmark thing we've been talking? Is that what everybody's excited about? If they started shipping?
They're shipping in the fall.
They're shipping in the fall. So
they're taking pre-orders still.
So many of us hoary, gray-haired veterans remember Divine Right. And we have our treasured copies of the original TSR version. We have our tattered copies of the Dragon magazines that have Manarian Legends in it. Some of us actually have a copy of the Manarian Legends book that was published via print on demand through Amazon And if you don't have a copy, you should go buy it. It's a great collection of all the Manarian legends in a single volume. What I held up was the 25th anniversary edition of Divine Right. That I say this as a guy who owns some of the artwork from it. It's not my favorite version of the game. I think it lost a lot of the flavor that attracted everybody originally. It doesn't have the map, the gorgeous map that Tramp did back in the day. You know, for the longest time, for a decade, 15 years, there was an incredibly active Yahoo group on Divine Right. I was a member of it.
The Yahoo group.
I'm sorry. We're going to mute you if you make one more ageist joke. I'm just going to tell you right now, you've been a delight.
Account as a child.
I'm sorry, you've been a delight, but if you don't mute yourself, we're going to do it for you. So, anyway, before the whippersnappers started to talk and walk on our yards, the Yahoo group was a great collection of Divine Right people who really tried to make sure that the rules got more polished and so on. And one of the things about this edition of the game is that you also got a DVD with a ton of stuff from the Yahoo group. Now, like all Yahoo groups, it's now just a distant memory and it's gone and it's dead. But there was a Kickstarter in the spring, wasn't it? That launched to publish a third edition of Divine Right. And from the looks of things, they're actually the map is gonna look more like the Tramp map. I don't think it's a 1-to-1 copy, but it looks very, very good. The Kickstarter was successful. It's going to start shipping in the fall. Mike and I are both Divine Right heads. Eric, are you one?
Nope.
I've stunned him silent.
Never played it.
So it was a great beer and pretzels war game.
Never played it.
Sure, it was a great beer and pretzels war game. It was a good change of pace when you didn't have enough people for a full game of D&D, but you wanted to beat the shit out of everybody with fantasy armies. It was just great. The thing that gave it a lot of character, the brothers who created the game, one of them was the artist, Glenn and Kenneth Rahman. One did the art, and so he did a cover of Dragon Magazine. He did all the art for the game, the great cover painting. We should get you a copy of the poster, the original Divine Right. I've got a copy of the image. Let me look it up. I don't know, Mike. While I'm looking at that, talk about your love of Divine Right.
Well, I have. I actually at one point owned Gary Gygax's copy of Divine Right because he was cleaning out his basement back in the late '90s and sold 6 copies.
I got
Frank
one of
Menzer
those
bought
too.
them all. Yeah, Frank Menzer bought them, and then he sold them. So they were owned by Gary originally, then owned by Frank Menzer, and then owned by people like Jim and I. And I've still got one copy in the shrink. I've got another copy that we played with back in the day. I had probably 3. I think I had 3 at one point. And then I also bought the 20. I have 2 copies of the anniversary one that Jim just showed you. I love the game. The one thing I like about it is no 2 games are ever alike. Not at all.
Ever.
There's not. Never. It's impossible. There's so many variables in the game. There's just as much luck as there is strategy. So you can be cruising along that game, kicking everybody's ass, and within 3 turns you're down here. You're dead. You're gone. And I love games like that because you don't necessarily have to be good at war games to win, and you can be great at war games and you can lose. The one issue I always had with it takes a long time to play because turns unless we used to time turns, Jim, because it got to be ridiculous. We had 5-10 minute turns, and then you had to go. But there's so many things that can happen in a turn. You have assassinations, you have invasions, you have alliances, you have mercenaries you can hire, you have special magical mercenaries, you have magical items you can find, you have you can go to a spot on the game board and sacrifice an army and cause an earthquake to hit your opponents. I mean, that's cool.
And this cover was one of the reasons Divine Right did so well, right? You have an army swooping out of the sky onto another army. This was a really eye-catching poster and cover for a game.
It's gorgeous.
And what's a real shame is the 25th anniversary edition. By that point, they were not as connected to the game. The brothers were not as connected to the game. There was no interest in. I think it was. I can't remember if it was Glenn or Kenneth. I think it was Kenneth that did all the illustrations. He was not interested in illustrating the new version of the game. And in fact, Mike and I were sort of trading notes. I have something sort of weird, or I have something unusual. So when I was living in Minnesota, I was close to St. Paul, where Glenn was still working and was around, and I managed to look him up, and the 25th anniversary edition had come out, and he and I went to lunch one day at a Burger King, and that was his choice. I was willing to go wherever, but we went to a Burger King, and we ended up talking about it, and he talked about how TSR had changed, and there was no interest in publishing Divine Right anymore, and the rights reverted to them, but they didn't feel like there was enough of a community out there, that people were just playing with their battered copies and so on and so forth. And so I got him to autograph my rule book. So here, I'll show this.
Ooh,
so I got him to autograph it, and he took my rule book, and he said, well, I'm going to go see my brother this weekend, and I will have him do so. He said, I can get him to sign it too. And I said, oh, that's great. I said, but I'd ask something. He said, sure. I said, can you actually have him maybe do a little cartoon or something? And so, if you can see it, it's called The Crass Bribe.
Ooh.
And so, like, Glenn did me a solid getting that done, but I believe Kenneth passed away the next year. And I'm pretty sure that this might be the last Divine Right illustration that Kenneth Rahman ever did. And I had to pull some strings to get it done, but Divine Right really goes back to a very early part of the hobby, and it hits all the right notes. And so the new edition's getting ready to ship. You can go on the website. If you haven't gotten a copy ordered, you can get a copy ordered. I think it's $80 or $90. It looks to be a great addition to the game. Now, Mike and I, we were sort of bitching today that, like, we've bought all these different versions of the game, but we haven't played anything in 30 years because life. And so I think it might be fun for North Texas. I think we need to organize some Divine Right games to break out the new copies and really dust them off and so on.
We've got a 25th anniversary issue up at the warehouse, or edition up at the warehouse. Actually, it's Mike and Liz Stewart's version. I bought it from them. I brought it up to the warehouse, so it's available for play at North Texas. So we really need to get that out and run that game. It is really fun. And the artwork's great. The board looks great. And here's another thing about the game, John. I think it's really interesting. It's one of the only war games I know that really actively encourages house rules, which is really, if you look at most grognards and war gamers, they don't encourage house rules. This should be played by the book. Avalon Hill, SPI, this is how it was written. No, the whole point of Divine Right is you house rule the hell out of it. You decide which alternate rules you're going to play. Like when we play, we usually leave out the black magicians, because that's a tough ally to run. So we do different. It's a very tough ally. The School of Magicians. What's it called? The Eaters of Magic. The Eaters of Magic. We usually have them. Yes. We don't have that as a choosable choice because they're a little overpowered in some of the things they do. But it's a great game. I can't say how much fun we used to have back in the early 80s playing this over and over and over again. We absolutely wore out a copy. And actually, Jim, we did play about 5 or 6 years ago. I got John Lyle, Marshall Mahurin, Zach Glazer, and I think my brother. We all ran a game. And the funny part is it's a game you win by scores. You get points for things you do. We were halfway through the game, and I think the only person that had a point was and I mean, that's how open-ended the game is. All your points happen in the last 3 or 4 turns. They just assassinates and kills, attacks. And so up until then, it just looks like nothing's happening. And so, we all along so we could get 10 points, and that's it. Because every time we somebody sieged a castle, it was unsuccessful. But it's
And I'm sorry,
it's a
I
great game.
misspoke. Kenneth is not dead. I apologize. I misspoke.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it?
I thought he
Kenneth
was,
still with
but
us?
I could be
Oh,
wrong.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, that would be great. If
That'd
they're
be
both around.
good. Hooray!
Yes.
Get Ken to do
good
more art
news.
for you.
Happy. Yes, happy stuff. But we'll try to bring. Look, we'll bring it up next year. Man, if I had time, it's an all day sucker though, guys. I mean, you'd have to start in the morning and finish in the afternoon. Especially the more people you have, the longer it takes to do turns, and especially if you haven't played it before. It works really smoothly if you have 4 or 5 of the players that have actually played before. They can kind of move things along and help you get along. But it's just a great game. Jim's right. Go ahead and buy this one. If you don't have versions 1 and 2, then definitely buy version 3. Go ahead and get it. I'm debating whether or not I need it because I already have so many copies. Do I really need another copy? But I'm probably gonna buy it, Jim. I'll probably buy it anyway. What the hell?
You're just looking for an excuse.
I can't buy it.
I'll throw one other thing out. So the collection of Manarian Legends is published by WotC, a very controversial figure within publishing.
Oh.
We will not discuss the controversy around him. Let me just throw out that Glenn Rahman chose that publisher to get Manarian Legends in print. Now there's a kerfuffle over the team that he was using who, because of where he went. But the point I would simply make is this. For decades, we've all wanted a collected copy of the Manarian Legends. There's only one way to get a collected copy of the Manarian Legends. It's the version that supports Glenn Rahman directly. Yes, the publisher gets a cut like any publisher would, but you can still get copies of Manarian Legends in print, the entire collected volume. I got a copy. There are people who are ideologically opposed to buying because of who published it, and frankly, I don't care. And I say that because if you read your copies of Dragon Magazine and you read Manarian Legends every month and you wanted them all in one place, you either photocopied them, bound them yourself, laboriously typed them all in, went through all kinds of hurdles. Amazon can put this on your doorstep in a couple of days. And the money goes directly to benefit Glenn. And yes, a publisher you may or may not like gets a cut of it the way every publishing house gets. And if you have to walk an ideological path so pure that you don't want to benefit a guy who's barely making anything, keeping this in print with a publisher that was willing to go ahead and do it, I don't know what to say. Like, it's not like you walk into the game industry to be a millionaire, because if you did, you would start by being a multi-millionaire. I think you walk away from the ideological discussions about this and recognize that a great way to get Manarian Legends in print exists. All you have to do is order it and really and truly, like, put all this other stuff aside and recognize that Glenn Rahman's going to get a cut of your purchase price when you buy a copy of the book, and that should be the thing that motivates you after wanting a copy of the book to read all the collected Manarian.
I'm looking at this Kickstarter and I'm getting horny. Oh, I'm sorry, Rachel. I didn't mean to say that. But
I don't think any of us are surprised that you're looking at the Kickstarter and getting horny, Mike.
Absolutely. It looks
honestly,
amazing.
I just that last 15 seconds just don't sit in my brain.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Wow. This Kickstarter looks absolutely beautiful. I don't think I'm going to have to. I don't think I'm not.
Pull it
gonna
up.
be able to buy
Let's
this.
pull it up. Let's take a look at it.
It's gorgeous. The cards, the map, everything has that retro look. It's just gorgeous. It's
and that's what it should have looked like at the 25th anniversary. Yeah. I never understood why they decided to go the direction they did, because I look at the cover and I think, this is not the game I was excited about. You know, I have one of the TSR Divine Right posters framed up outside my office, and it looks amazing. It looks, people literally, of all the posters in the hallway, that's the one that people look at and they're like, what the hell is that? I don't remember that. What is that? And you're like, oh, well, it was this really cool board game, but you didn't play it. So, but the map looks right. Oh, look at that.
Jim,
that's dead sexy.
Gorgeous anniversary board smaller, because that Yeah, it's
Yes.
really, but I think the board was smaller, which I wasn't too happy about. Get to the cards, Eric. The cards are just look incredible.
The cards look amazing. I took a look at
That
the
map.
page.
Oh, look at that beautiful map. Oh, look
This
at that
is hot
beautiful
sex
game book.
on toast.
Oh my gosh.
Toast?
Oh,
I'm not gonna ask
I
questions.
might have to go to stop cam here. Oh my god. Look at
Whoa,
those
whoa,
cards.
whoa, whoa. Turn the mic off if you're going there, buddy. Turn the mic off if you're going there.
Look,
And-
I don't need to know
Bye.
to get up.
Cards. Look at those cards are so retro. This is the
Yeah, and I
opposite of
think
slick.
I think
That's
one of the
good.
things that I really wish they would do, and I really wish they would do this. I wish they would actually give you the option where you could buy a larger map. Like really and truly give me the opportunity. You know, we can say a lot of things about Supremacy games, right? We can talk about a never-ending list of add-on boxes. But at least Supremacy, after selling you 9 boxes of supplemental shit, sold you the giant map so you could use the 9 boxes of supplemental shit. And truthfully, give us a large map. When Scarlet Empire, if Scarlet Empire comes out, and it should, give me the giant table covering map of my dreams. Don't be chintzy. I don't give a shit what it costs. Just let me buy it. Just get out of the way and let me buy it. Damn it.
The good and the bad. The 25th anniversary did have a nice fold-up wooden or whatever you call it map, whereas the early edition just had the paper maps, which quickly were destroyed, which is why I had to have multiple copies when I was a kid. I do like that about the 25th anniversary. I don't like the fact there wasn't a rule book in there because they had instead you had to print one off using the CD-ROM. And I believe the map is smaller, Jim. I can't remember right off the bat. I believe the map's
Yes. Right.
Which is crazy. It needs to be gigantic.
There is a
You're right.
full-size
It needs to be
neoprene map, but
huge.
I did not see this. There's a full-size, because I missed the Kickstarter. The full-size neoprene map is $125, but is that on their website to order? Jesus.
Oh no, let me check.
I have questions. Me wanty.
I've got a question while I've got you here, since y'all have actually played it. There's a board game club on campus that runs basically only around 4 hours. I see the play time is 2 to 6. What kind of limitations would be needed in order to make it work in that 4-hour time frame? Because it looks really cool.
You don't play the full. So there's a full version. There's a full version and there's a half version. You only play half the turns. The problem when you only play half the turns,
you have half the fun.
Yeah, it's exactly like Jim says. It's crammed in. This is really an 8-hour board game, I would say.
Good to know.
But if you want to play the full game in that time frame, methamphetamine is there for you.
Don't think it'd work on me.
Don't cook your own. I'm saying, you know.
No, it's okay.
Spend the money, buy the good stuff. Jim's right. Yeah. Don't.
I've got ADHD. It wouldn't really work on me to begin with.
Oh, okay. Well, Rachel, here. So glad to have you this week. I had a blast. Yeah. I laughed hard. I wish
a lot of fun. I'm glad.
I'm gonna up my bod rate. I think I'm gonna buy some more bod. I don't know how you buy bod, but I'm gonna.
You gotta buy something.
Yeah, this is
wow.
But no, it's great. It's great. I hated that I kept crapping out, but I love seeing you, Rachel, and I'm so glad this is already funded. This is going to be awesome. I hope this is the beginning of a.
I think it was funded within just a couple of days. It was kind of weird to see. Like, I think the first day it went up. I'm like, hope it's already funded. People are paying money for this, for something I made. It was kind of cool.
And
kind of weird. Well, yeah, but like, okay. So first off, I didn't really originally know I was going to get paid for writing the module, because in my mind, Bill Webb gave me a book, said write me a module, and so I went, all right, I got books. I'm gonna write you a module. It's a fair exchange. Then they asked for my email and they sent me money. And I was like, what? And then Bill Webb actually got kind of like genuinely a bit hurt that I thought I thought like he was going to cheat me. And I'm like, no, I just didn't realize that I hadn't already been paid yet with books.
Game designers usually get paid with trade and not money. That's true, Rachel. You're right on target there.
Yeah.
They don't make money, but in the case of this case, they decide to actually pay you money. So.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right.
Don't question why you got the cash. Just take it and run.
I'm not questioning why. Kind of funny though, because one of the internships, they did a couple government contracts, really common civil engineering stuff, standard conflict of interest form. Like, is there any kind of money liability in this? And I'm like, no, I didn't realize it's going to get paid. I have no stake in this. This is not a financial liability. I'm fine. I didn't realize it was going to get paid. I thought I'd already been paid because I got books for years. And then I got money. So pretty stoked about that.
Well, I'm going to throw something out there that you're not aware of. You're going to get paid for doing engineering work too, by the way. And
engineering work doesn't give me free books, so I kind of figured that one out.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. This was really good.
Thank you for inviting me. This was an absolute blast. I've enjoyed being able to talk and see you guys.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird to have it not be June, but I'm really enjoying it.
Exactly. It's I would see it in North Texas, and I love when people come up to me and they're like, "Which Rachel is yours?" That's like, well, they're very different. I mean, hair color.
Really?
Alone.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, there's some pretty obvious things here.
Listen, gamers can be the most obtuse people I've ever known.
I can't believe you would say that. Shocked I am to hear that.
Shocked, I tell you, shocked.
Let me put on my Inspector.
I think I got
Inspector
one
Renault hat. I'm shocked that there's gambling at Rick's. Here are your winnings.
Go ahead, Rach.
Another one on that. So one time I was a kid, I was asking just see if I knew who my dad was. I'm like, hey, my dad's Steve Marsh, I'd seen him. And this one person directed me over to Ben Marsh. Because
okay. I think he was your brother.
I'm afraid that this is turning into a eugenics experiment.
No, just I was looking for my dad, and it was like, oh, Steve, I'm Rachel Marsh. No, Marsh is my dad. And he apparently heard Ben Marsh, or just autocorrected to Marsh in his head and sent me over to Ben Marsh. Because he's like, because apparently that's the closest person to Marsh he'd seen.
Maybe he sent you to Bill Marsh. He sent you to Ben Marsh. There's something really, really wrong going on here. There's something really wrong going on here.
Because if you guys have a kid, that's the Krizwat's Haderach of RPGs and OSR, and he will be or she will be the chosen one.
Sir,
there will be one rule set to bind them.
I meant Bill Marsh. Look, I'm not great with names, okay? The first time I went to go find Bad Mike.
I possess the magic editing pen. Shai Hulud.
Okay, one of the first times I went to go find Bad Mike, everyone called him that. Like, okay, but in my head, he couldn't possibly be Bad Mike because he's so nice. And so I went up to him and I'm like, I was trying to figure out what other possible word could start with a B, and I'm like, Big Mike? And he's like, what?
Big Mike. That's same thing.
Yeah, because everyone kept calling him Bad Mike, and I'm like, but he's nice. I couldn't figure it out. Then Mike
This is why I love her so much. See, she knows I couldn't be bad. She knows I couldn't be bad.
She doesn't know right.
Yes, she does.
You can be bad, Mike. Trust me. Those of us that know, we know.
I see all of the good sides. But seriously, I go to the con and they're my uncles.
Yeah, well,
Bad Mike has been adopted. This is not a request. This is forcibly adoption.
Well,
North Texas.
Well, you and your sister are very special to me. You and your sister are very special because you came to our first or our second year con. And you guys were big backers, and your dad was too. So the whole Marsh family is very special to me. So. Oh, there we go. There's their king. Steve
I figured
Marsh,
no matter
right.
where I'm going to be,
Best Mike. You're right. This man is a
of all three of all the mics on the channel tonight. Mike is the best Mike.
I'll give him that. Congratulations, Mike. You're number one because you're the only one. Yay!
I rate Stephen Marsh calling me best Mike up there with Darlene kissing me on the cheek as one of my special moments of gaming.
He still hasn't watched it.
No, not yet. Not yet. It's too soon. Too soon. It's only been 2 years. Too soon.
Ew. Thank you to Jim. Thank you to Mike. Obviously, Rachel. If you're on Discord, we do a hangout at 9 p.m. on the Discord server. On
Thursdays.
On Thursday, not tonight.
Rachel, we got an extra Rachel in the chat.
We have dueling Rachels.
Dueling Rachel.
Do I need to
That's
fist myself in a Denny's parking lot? Because I can do that.
Listen, unless we make it, this is a 5 Friday month, so there's technically no live stream on Friday, unless we decide to do something really strange. We shall see.
Or unless
And-
WotC has a big story on tomorrow, like they usually do, they'll have something happen.
Yeah,
tomorrow
you never
night.
know. And
We're
Game of
eliminating
Thrones-
dice. Who needs these dice things?
Yeah, dice.
We've got a random generator we're going to send
Dice
you.
are gone.
We're
You-
selling
you're
you a
gonna
random
see
number
that-
generator.
it's a
We've
random
decided
number
to
generator.
eliminate
Numbers
dice.
between 1 and 17 only.
These strange polyhedral shapes make people nervous. That's what the focus groups have told us.
Yes.
That's
No
the
more
point of the
D4s.
clacky, clicky, clackies. The point is to make you nervous.
D4s
the
are gone.
number
They're like cow
generation.
traps. No. Game of Health 8 p.m. on Saturday with the other Rachel, not this Rachel, my wife Rachel. Other than that, folks, thank you so much. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. Thank you to everybody on Twitter. Nearly 60 viewers on Twitter tonight. 58
Wow.
to be exact. Holy crap. Thank you all.